Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on something I think that's kind of special, especially if you like classic SIGs. This is the Sig Sauer P228. It is West German made, and maybe you notice something really special about it. This is in nickel plate. Yeah, I had no idea that they even made SIGs in nickel plate. Yeah, take a look at that. And I know some of you guys are going to say, that must be an aftermarket job. Well, I have the original box here, and on the side it does say nickel. So it is a factory nickel plate P228 made in West Germany. Yeah, take a look at that. That is really cool and something different. So I want to get this thing to the range and tell you guys all about how it shoots. But before I do, I want to thank the people that always make these videos possible. First and foremost is the owner of this really cool SIG, and his name is Roy. He's a local subscriber and fan of the channel, so thank you so much, Roy. And as always, I want to thank my Patreons, because through their monthly donation and support, they help keep all of this content coming. So thank you so much, Patrons. You guys know YouTube is not a firearms-friendly platform, and they go so far in helping me keep all of this going. So thank you again, Patreons. And if you want to be a Patreon supporter, please feel free in joining me over there for as little as $1 a month. All right, so let's talk about exactly what this gun is. Now, Roy says this is his pimp gun. Yeah, and I understand why. It is just shiny. I don't even think this camera is doing it justice. That is just a really cool look for a classic SIG. I'm so used to seeing them in that matte nitride finish. Yeah, and being West German made, this is the old style of manufacturing where it's a stamped sheet metal slide. Once again, you can always tell because it has this flat surface here on the front and that pinned firing pin area or block that's in there. Really different than the modern SIG. So yeah, this is Roy's pimp gun, made in West Germany. All right, so let's talk about the things that I like and don't like about this gun. And there's so many things about this gun that I like, especially because I love SIGs and I love classic SIGs. And that's the main thing. It's a classic SIG. They don't even make the P228 anymore. The P228 essentially is a compact version of the P226, which arguably is the best of the entire P series of pistols from SIG. Now, this gun has been replaced by the P229. And the main difference is that the slides are made of bar stock steel instead of the stamped sheet metal. The 229 has gone on to become a sidearm with the U.S. Secret Service. The 228, or a variant of this, was called the M11, which was used by the U.S. military for their military police departments. So it has seen some use in the U.S. military as well, but this is a civilian version of that. I love the way that these guns absolutely look. So the aesthetics are just really cool. I just feel like SIG has that going on, and because of the design, it also has that full-length rail, and that makes these slides move buttery smooth. Man, it's like they run on ball bearings. Very different than many of the other Wonder 9s like Berettas or Glocks. Even though the Berettas have a pretty long rail, it's not the full-length rail, and I really do like that. Now, although this is an older gun that Roy said he bought in the 1990s, it does come with the SIG Light night sights. However, being that this gun is so old, they no longer work. But you can still see those dots clear in the day. They do work, and of course you can replace those with any modern ones if that's the way that you would want to go. And the other thing I really like about this gun is the size. I really like compact handguns. I like to collect full-size handguns because many times those are the ones that are used by militaries and police. But when it comes to practical shooting and concealed carry, the compact is the way to go. They're not so small that you lose a lot of capacity and they're really snappy, but they're not so big that you can't easily conceal them. So it's the perfect size. And you guys know SIGs are just such high quality. This is a classic design. Man, I just love this gun. But let's talk about the one thing about this gun I'm not a big fan of, and that's going to be these hoe grips. Now, I'm not going to blame SIG on this one. This is on Roy, and I'm just kind of joking about that because obviously this is his personal gun and he wants to tailor it to his specifications. And so I'm not a big fan of these rubber hoe grips because they feel like 1980s car steering wheels, if that makes any sense. If I own this gun, I'd probably want to put on those classic grips, but that's really honestly about it. But that can be easily changed down, and I'm not going to ding the gun any points because that's not the way it came. And of course, I hope that Roy understands that I'm not criticizing his choice in any way. And I guess the other thing about this gun I'm not a big fan of is the trigger. Now, SIG triggers have come a long way since this era. Now, today we have the SRT trigger, which is the short reset trigger, but the old style, they're a little bit long, they're heavy, the resets are a little bit long. They're not unmanageable, they're not bad. It's just after you've shot the SRT triggers, well, they kind of spoil you a little bit. But besides that, man, everything else with this gun I love. So let's go ahead and get this thing to the range. And as always, we're going to start off at 7 yards. I'm going to load up one of these magazines. The witness holes say 13, but sometimes I'm able to put 14 in here. But just for reliability purposes, we're only going to run these with 13. So I'm curious how this thing's going to shoot. I haven't shot a classic SIG P228 in a long time. So hopefully it's going to run well. I won't have any issues. And I'm going to take Roy's pimp gun for a spin. So once again, 7 yards, 13 rounds. Let's see how she does. And we're definitely off to a really good start. I like that group. Not the world's greatest group, but definitely something that would work for me. And after shooting it, yeah, the biggest issue is the trigger. So let me show you this on camera here. Of course, let me safety check the firearm and visually inspect that chamber, and we are clear. So let me go ahead and show you what this trigger looks like. We'll start off in double action first. So we have quite a bit of heavy take up right here. Still going, still going, still going. There it is. There wasn't much of a wall. Now let's check this reset and look at the single action pull. Release, release, release. There it is. And now let's see how much take up we have. Quite a bit. Yeah, there's a lot of take up after that reset. But I will say the wall allows you to stage that trigger really well. So I like some things about this trigger, but not everything. I just don't like that long reset, which for me, making quick follow-up shots would probably be a little bit difficult. All right, so as always, I now want to double the distance of this target and put the same number of rounds through it at 15 yards. I'm going to go for the head on this IDPA target, see what happens to this group, and if I discover anything else about this gun that I want to talk about. And once again, our grouping is pretty decent, but I'm definitely shooting it a little bit off to the left. And why that is? Well, it's probably me and not the gun. Because of the size of this gun and my larger hands, I'm probably putting a little bit too much of my finger through that trigger guard, and it's kind of pushing the gun a little bit to the left. So I'm going to need to adjust for that. But I still think because the group is pretty good, the gun is pretty accurate, especially if you're shooting it the right way. So I really also have to say that the staging of this trigger, like I mentioned before, is really good. You don't feel like you have to rush, and it's just the right amount where it doesn't feel like it's a hair trigger, and you can stage it and really take your time. So I do like that aspect of it. All right, so the next couple of tests are the practical and tactical test. The first one is the practical test. If you're going to carry this or own this gun, you're probably going to use it for home defense or concealed carry. And so you're probably going to want this gun to be able to run with hollow points. It's my understanding that in many European countries, they don't allow hollow points for whatever reason. And being a classic gun made in Europe, well, you got to make sure this thing is going to run with hollow points if you're going to use them. So we're going to use some Remington Golden Saber just to make sure that there's no feeding issues and the gun still functions. So let's do that now. And no issues whatsoever. And honestly, that's the best group I've shot all day. So I'm pretty happy with it, and I think this is a great gun for concealed carry. Even though they're no longer in production, if you can get your hands on one, they're just awesome guns. All right, so the next thing I want to do is the tactical aspect, which is the quick magazine change. Now, I always say I am not a professional shooter. I'm not a competition shooter, but I like to shoot all of my guns fast. I want to empty a magazine, drop the magazine, get the next one in, and see if I can do it quickly. After all, you might be a competition shooter. I'm sure you can do it faster than me. If I can do it quickly, you can do it faster. And also for self-defense, if you got to do a magazine change. So let's see how hard it is with this gun and how fast I can shoot it. And this test highlights one of my issues I do have with the SIG P series design, and that is the bore axis is kind of high, and because of that, these guns tend to flip a little bit more. I know it's just intrinsic to the design, but if that barrel could just sit a little bit lower and that recoil impulse will come directly back in your hand, it would definitely be a better shooter at quicker speeds. But with that higher bore axis, it just has a little bit of muzzle flip. Nothing that I wasn't able to overcome, and with that heavier trigger, it was a little bit slower than I normally can shoot other firearms. But I still think it worked just fine. I had no issues, and if I shot this gun all the time, I could definitely overcome that little bit of flippiness. All right, so now the next thing I want to do is check the double action of this pull. You know, the SIGs are double action, single action guns, and all of the SIGs have that decocker here on the side. And many times people are going to carry it with the hammer down, and that first trigger pull can be quite long. And a lot of people say if you don't train for it, your accuracy can be off on that first round, which might be the only round you can get off. So I like to test all these double action, single action guns in double action only. So after every shot, I'm going to decock the gun, shoot a double action again. It's a real long, heavy pull, and I'm just curious how it's going to affect my accuracy. So let's see how I do. All right, so I'll take that group. It's not my best double action group ever. Usually when I shoot the SIGs, especially the SRT triggers in double action, I shoot them really, really well. It's definitely a functional group, but not my best, and this trigger is definitely really heavy, but it's definitely something that you can get used to. It is not bad at all. While I have complained about it being a little bit long and a little bit heavy, it's definitely a very good functional, practical trigger. It's not gritty, there's no weird creep to it. It's very predictable. So for a mil-spec type of a trigger, it's perfectly fine. All right, so now I want to give my wife, Becky, a chance to shoot this. And as always, she wants to shoot every gun that comes through the Texas Gun Vault. And she's really fallen in love with shooting and the Second Amendment. And in fact, she actually has an Instagram and a Facebook account now. If you guys want to follow her, she is the Texas Gun Princess. And I'll even put a link in the description and maybe even as a pinned comment if you guys want to go over there and follow her and her journey exploring the Second Amendment here at the Texas Gun Vault. All right, so let me load up another magazine and give her a chance to shoot this and see what she has to say. All right, and like me, she shot it okay, wasn't great. And what I think kind of threw her off is the fact that for her, this gun was ejecting to the 5 or the 6 o'clock position, and sometimes was hitting her in the forehead or in the face. She kept her composure, but I think it kind of rattled her a little bit, and she could have shot it better if it was ejecting normally. Now, I did check the footage, and she was not limp wristing, so I'm not really 100% sure what was happening there, but when it came to actually holding the gun and shooting the gun, she liked it. She really did like these hoe grips. She is a little bit grip sensitive, as I say, so where I don't like it, she actually liked it a lot, and she really liked the size of it. So that was her issues with it, and she just wished that it ejected a little bit better. So overall, this has been a really good gun. I've had no issues and no hiccups with it, no malfunctions. I just don't shoot it as well as I do other SIGs, but I think it's because of this older trigger. But there's no doubt that this is some really cool gun. I mean, a nickel-plated classic SIG P228. This is just not something that you see every single day. So I'm so honored and humbled that I got to shoot this here on the channel, get to review it, and get some range time with it. Man, that's just something so cool and special about having this channel. So once again, thank you, Roy, for this opportunity. So what are my final thoughts on this gun? Okay, so from a collector standpoint, it's definitely really cool. So if you're interested in collecting classic SIG pistols, well, finding something like this, I think, is something you have to have in your collection. I didn't even know they existed. A factory nickel finish P228. Now, when it comes to an actual function standpoint, the gun is okay. It's what you would expect from just an off-the-run gun from SIG from the 1990s. It's definitely well built, it's robust, it works, but they've come a long way since this time. But I would not personally change anything about this gun. I have talked about other SIGs that I have reviewed in the past where I said, okay, you got to take out the old trigger, put in the SRT trigger. However, this whole gun is nickel plated, including the magazines. So yeah, you can't change anything out about this gun. It has to remain stock. And it's really cool that Roy even has the original box that shows it is a factory nickel finish. So from a collector standpoint, it is really cool. From a practical standpoint, it's okay. I shoot it okay, it functions okay. Yeah, it's definitely nice. And I understand why so many people love the 228 and why many police agencies and militaries around the world adopted it in some form. So on my star system, how would I rate this awesome nickel-plated P228 made in West Germany? Well, the collector in me definitely wants to give it 5 out of 5 stars. However, when it comes to its performance and how I shoot it, I definitely think it deserves 4 out of 5 stars. It's not the best shooting gun. The trigger is definitely heavy, a little bit mushy. Good staging though. The gun is easy to shoot. It's ergonomic. It's a little bit flippy because of the high bore axis. So there's many things about this gun I absolutely like, and I would recommend it to anybody if you can get your hands on one, even the standard finished ones, which probably would be a little bit cheaper and you wouldn't worry about scuffing it or wearing it any. Because I know these nickel finishes can be a little bit tricky, especially when it comes to cleaning. You got to make sure you use the right solvents. But yeah, I'd like to have one of these, but maybe in the classic finish. So 4 out of 5 stars for the Sig Sauer P228 in factory nickel finish. What a cool gun. So thank you again, Roy. I am honored and humbled that you lent this to the channel for review, and I hope this was educational for other people who didn't even know a gun like this existed. So what do you guys think? Did you guys know SIG made the P series of guns in nickel? I didn't. But maybe you guys did, and maybe you have some. If you do, let me know in the comments section below. So, as always, thanks for watching.